Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Revolve tool. Russ and I were talking, and we kind of felt that if we just carried on doing sketching, because sketching is a huge subject, we might end up with the next 10 weeks just talking about sketching. So we thought we'd introduce a few other things just to break it up a little bit. So we're going to use the Revolve tool. Now, how do we start a Revolve tool? Well, it's quite simple, really. We've got the toolbar icon up there, which is the Revolve. I don't know why that's not highlighting. Let's just see. Okay, so that's the Revolve tool. And when you hover over it, it'll give you a little guide as to what you need to do. Revolves a sketch profile, plane of face, blah, 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 blah. You've also got in the drop-down menu here, you've got Revolve, and that tells you exactly the same. And Russ told you about how you can add things to the toolbar. I'm actually going to teach you just one extra one as well, which is change keyboard shortcuts. So I've been doing lots of revolving over the last few days. So I'm a lazy individual. I don't really want to keep going up to the toolbar and clicking revolve. You have change keyboard shortcuts. Now we can assign a new shortcut key to revolve. Now I can't use R because Russ has already stolen that one with a rectangle, but we can do Shift R. Okay. So if we just click Shift R and then click OK, that will now mean if we have a look now at the revolve, it's actually even put it up there for me. It says revolve, and then in brackets, it says Shift R. And if I do the create revolve, again, you can see Shift R is in there. Just a little shortcut just to make your life a little bit easier. That's all. So we hit Shift R. And we want to know, what can we revolve? Well, we can revolve profiles because it says there, it says you can revolve profiles. Now we can revolve a single profile. We can revolve two profiles of a sketch. We can even revolve the face of a body. So we can click that one. Now what you can't do is if this box here was not on the same plane as these, you cannot select that face. So likewise, I can't select the top of this box or that side of the box. Okay, so that's what can you select. So let's just come out of those and we'll just hide one of these boxes because otherwise last time it went all a bit peaked on. So let's have a look. So in the box here, you see it says revolve and it says profile. So let's just select that single profile. The next box as you come down says select axis. Now, one interesting thing here, even though I had the origin hidden in the browser, as soon as you click axis, it will automatically open up the origin because it assumes that that's probably the most likely thing that you're going to use as a revolve. So the second box that we hit is the axis, and I'm going to use the Z axis, which is the blue one here. And if I select that, you can see it does a revolve. And that's kind of pretty similar to the pretty picture that they put up there to make it as a revolve. Now we don't have to use the origin. We can actually use a sketch line some distance away. So you can see with this one, I've drawn just a construction line away from the actual sketch. So I can click that one and that will revolve around that as an axis. I can even actually use a part of a body. So if I want, I can select the vertical part of this box and that will revolve around the box. Now, the important thing to notice here is that what we are doing is we are revolving around the part that I selected. So you can see here with this circle, I selected that part of the box. If I clicked that part of the box, you will notice now that the revolve is around that part of the box. It's all based on the same plane. Now, for the revolve on the axis, it doesn't oh no, sorry, need to go back one step there. You can also use parts of the original sketch as the revolve. So on here, the axis can also be that line there to create a funky, don't know what. You can also use that one to create a completely different shape, or obviously that one. What you cannot do, in the same way as Russ was talking about on the tangent aspect for the circles, you cannot revolve around a curved line. Regardless of how close to straight that line is, it has to be physically a straight line. Now, you can also use a line not on the same plane. So what you'll notice with this line here, this is up in space somewhere, and it's back from the plane of the profile of the sketch. Now, if you select that one there, let me just get rid of that small box for a second. Something strange has happened. Even though I selected that box, when we have a look at it from the top, it hasn't revolved around there. It's actually revolved down there, and that's where this project axis comes in. Now, if I select that or deselect it, you'll notice now that it revolves around that part where I was expecting it to revolve around. And that's pure and simply project axis. What that actually does, when I select that, it creates a little dotted line here, and it projects that line onto the plane that the sketch is on. One thing, just as a little added bonus quick tip, just because I fancy throwing them in every now and then, you do not always have to go back into a sketch to edit a revolve. Well, this is pretty similar on most things in Fusion. So what you can do is, if we don't have this in the way, sorry, bear with me. Shame you can't get rid of that zoom toolbar, isn't it? If we go into there and we edit that feature, if we change the axis, let's say to that one there, one of the things that you can do is you can muck about with the sketch without actually going into the sketch. So it's quite a cool way on a revolve. If you're trying to make an organic shape, you can grab any one of these points and you can start doing weird and funky things with them to make a different shape. And sometimes that's quite good because it helps you visualize what it's going to look like as a shape without just keep going back into the sketch. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of this toolbar again. Shove it over there. Okay. So going back again, obviously with the revolve, I said you've got the shortcut for me, which is Shift R, which you'd have to create if you wanted to do that. But you've also got the revolve here. Now, one thing that you might have noticed then is I didn't actually select the profile. It selected it automatically and it dropped down to the axis box straight away, waiting for me to select the axis. Now that will do that based on if there is just one sketch profile. If there are more than one sketch profile, obviously it needs to know which one out of the two you need to select. So if we select, well, it's automatically selected it. The axis is this one. The next box that we get is the extent type. Now there are 3 extent types. There's partial, to object, and full. So let's have a look at the partial. With the partial, that allows you to do a percentage or a degree of revolution. To change that, we can either type up in here, let's say 90 degrees, and that will go to 90 degrees. We also have it in this box here, which is actually exactly the same as the other one. So we can put 180 in there. We also have here a manipulator. So with a manipulator, you can vary the amount of revolution that you're doing. And going back to our 20%, this is something I did not know. You can also use these on the origin. So if you want to go to 270 degrees, if you click that one, or if you want to go to 360 degrees, you can click that one. Or if you want to go back to 90 degrees, you can click that one. And then that one will take you to 180, and that one will take you to 270. There's one I didn't know. The other thing is also with revolutions. This is a mathematics or engineering thing. I'm not particularly sure which one. If you degrees are anti-clockwise is positive, clockwise is negative. So we can revolve and then go into the negative revolution. So that's all pure and simply depending on which way from the profile you go, whether you go anti-clockwise or clockwise, and that's either minus or positive. So if I want that to be 90 degrees the other way, then obviously I'm just going to put in there 90, and that will revolve it round on a positive side 90 degrees. So that's partial. The other one we've got here is full. Full's a great one because there's no options on full, because there can't be. It's either full or it's partial. So the great thing about full, nice and simple, just hit full, hit return, and that would complete the revolve. But we have another one here, which is to object. So let's just put an object in. Now, when it says to object, initially, and this is something, again, I learned, I always thought that was to an object, i.e. I want that to revolve to that object there. But when you actually put your mouse over, you'll see certain things. It says select body, face, plane, or vertex. So you can actually just select box, the whole thing, and it will, in this instance, just do a complete 360. So fundamentally a full. Let me just do that again, because it sometimes gets a bit mucked up when I try and keep changing it. Okay, so that's that one there. So Shift R, select the axis, which is the blue one. Now, the other option that I had when I did to object is it said body or face. So I can actually just click that face and it will go to that face. Let's do that again. So the to object, the other option was plane. So you can just go to that plane, or the other one, which is really, really cool, and I think this is the best one of it, is you can actually go to a vertex. So I can just, for anybody that doesn't know what a vertex is, it's your little points at the end of your boxes. That's your vertex. So you have a vertex at the bottom and you have a vertex at the top. So I can select that one, or I can select that one, or I can select that one, but I can't select that one, pure and simply because it actually won't go anywhere near that vertex. The other interesting thing is I can't actually go back, which is just an anomaly of this. Okay, so that's to object. Just remove that one. So we select the profile, then we select the axis. We do a full. And if we bring back that box, the final bit is what is the operation? Now the operation on this one has defaulted to cut. So what that means is if I click OK, wherever that revolves around that box, it will cut out that shape. Bring that one back. But we do have other options. Now we have new component. So new component will create a new component, as will new body. That will create a new body. We've got join. So new body would actually physically create a new body, and it would leave us with the box and a new body. So let's just do that just to show you what that does. So what that's done now is it's kept the box. So the box is a separate body, and it's created a new body, which hasn't got a name yet because it just created it as my 18th body. And those are two individual items. The other option that you have is that we can turn that as a join, and then we click OK. Now what you notice there, it hasn't created now body 18. And if I click off box, they both disappear because it's joined the two together. The other interesting one on this one is intersect. So on intersect, fundamentally what that does is wherever the revolve touches a body, it will leave that body in place, but it won't create a body anywhere where there isn't already a body. So it's kind of the reverse of a cut. Now this gives you one other option. This option also comes up on the cut option. This tells you which objects it's got to cut, which technically it's not, it's to intersect, but it's the same thing. So if we had that little small box, which is there, I would have an option to include that or not include it, or not include the box and include the small box. So it gives you options that you can determine which objects you want to cut, but on this particular occasion it's intersect, even though they've still left it as cut, because if we do a cut, you've got the same option. You can cut the small box and the box, or the box and not the small box. Just enables you to do that. Is that okay? One final thing just on Revolve. And just bring up that one. You can also, as I said before, you can revolve faces. So Shift R for me. I can select that face as a profile. I could select that line as an axis. I could do that as a partial. And then I could then manipulate that way. Okay. So I can use that to manipulate faces. Another really cool thing on this one, just remove that one. I can select that as a profile, and for an axis, I can actually use a cylindrical object. So I can select the face of that as the profile to revolve around. Now the project axis still works on this option as well. So at the moment, I've asked it to revolve around that circle, but clearly it's up on the plane of that face. If I click the project axis, that will drop that down, and that now becomes actually around that cylindrical item. And I think that's everything.